I was a student at Willow Creek Elementary 15 years ago. April had just arrived, bringing with it the yearly class shuffle, a season of anxious excitement and fresh starts, and the aroma of spring was in the air. Our new homeroom teacher was a young woman with a nice smile but a detached, businesslike look in her eyes. She spoke softly but firmly to the girl seated next to me when the lunch bell rang out over the busy hallways, announcing the midday break.
Olivia, please don't eat in the cafeteria today as you haven't paid your lunch charge. All right?
Olivia was obviously thin, a wisp of a girl who usually wore clothes that felt a bit too big and a bit too faded. Her tattered sneakers and shabby rucksack silently conveyed a tale of adversity. Her family was having financial difficulties, and I had heard in the corridors that her parents had been unable to cover the school lunch cost since the previous fall. I had heard some older children chatting and discovered that she had been granted lunch the previous year due to some special arrangement, or maybe the generosity of a former teacher. I felt a great wave of empathy when I saw her sitting at her little desk, staring at her lap without a brown paper bag or even a colorful lunchbox in front of her. Her peaceful area of the classroom appeared a world away from the bright, bustling cafeteria. I knew I couldn't just share my meal with Olivia in public without making a scene or even embarrassing her, because our teacher ate her lunch in the same room as us while keeping an eye on us. Her wordless battle broke my heart. Rather, I took the peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of my own lunch, wrapped one half firmly in a napkin, and slipped it under my textbooks on my desk. When the lunch break was over and the instructor briefly left the room, I hastily got it back and presented it to Olivia. Whispering, "You can eat this," I tried to sound informal. Her eyes widened in astonishment and reluctance as her head jerked up. "Really?" Olivia said, "Thank you, Liam," with hardly a breath in her voice. However, there was a level of appreciation in her eyes that words could not describe. I was a shy, introspective child back then, more at ease with books and with others, and frequently an outsider in the same class with no true friends. However, a tentative bridge was built between Olivia and me after that brief act of sharing, and we began speaking, first slowly and then more openly. That afternoon I came home and told Mom about it, the picture of Olivia's sad face still fresh in my mind.
Mom, please, I was wondering, could you maybe make an extra packed lunch for Olivia tomorrow? I was a little anxious when I asked.
Mom, a former elementary school teacher who now volunteers at a nearby community center, listened carefully, her face softening with empathy. Mom said, "Oh, that poor child," with sincere compassion in her voice. "Liam, it won't be beneficial for her development if she is unable to eat healthily during lunch, and when her stomach is empty, she most likely finds it difficult to focus on her studies." She paused. Then a warm smile spread across her face. "It's perfectly fine. I'm already making your dad's lunch every single day, so adding one more portion, especially a child-sized one, won't make much difference at all." With that, she gladly agreed, her eyes twinkling with the kindness I knew so well. The next day, during the lunch break in the noisy cafeteria, I handed over the colorful insulated lunchbox Mom had packed with such care. It was filled with a balanced meal, a turkey sandwich on whole wheat, some carrot sticks, an apple, and even a little homemade cookie. Olivia's eyes widened in sheer surprise, her small hands reaching out hesitantly. "My mom said to give this to you," I explained, feeling warmth spread through my chest. Is this a packed lunch for me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yeah, I told her about you, and she said she'd be happy to make you one," I confirmed, trying to make it sound like the most natural thing in the world. "Really? Oh, thank you, Liam. And please thank your mom for me." She hurriedly, almost reverently, opened the lunchbox and began to eat, making sure to finish everything before the teacher returned to the classroom. The way her face lit up with each bite was a reward in itself. It turned out that Olivia's house was in the same general direction as mine, a fact we discovered through our tentative conversations. So from that day forward, we decided to walk home from Willow Creek Elementary together. During those walks, beneath the canopy of trees lining the suburban streets, Olivia slowly began to open up, telling me about her difficult life. My dad. He doesn't have a job right now, she confessed one afternoon, kicking at a loose stone on the sidewalk. And he spends all the money we have on things like slot machines and horse races down at the track. Her voice was small, laced with a resignation that no child should carry. My mom works really hard. She earns the money, but my dad, he just takes it all. Because of this, her family was constantly struggling, always teetering on the edge and even burdened by debt. Seeing her in the same tattered, faded t-shirt and worn-out jeans every single day, a stark contrast to the brightly colored, trendy clothes of our other classmates, I felt a deep ache of sympathy for her. Our classmates, for the most part, just watched her from a distance. Their curiosity sometimes tinged with an unkind pity, but none ever reached out. Neither of us really had any close friends within our grade. After that, Olivia and I started meeting up in the mornings, too. Walking to school together, our conversations fill in the quiet early hours. Some of the more boisterous classmates would occasionally tease us, their voices loud and jeering. "Are you two dating or something?" they'd chant, their laughter echoing. But we tried our best to ignore them, to not let their childish taunts bother us, finding solace in our shared companionship. I had always been somewhat awkward, finding it hard to talk to people, my mind often racing with thoughts I couldn't articulate. But for some inexplicable reason, I felt completely at ease talking to Olivia. It was as if a part of me that had been dormant, a need for connection I hadn't fully acknowledged, had awakened. I didn't realize it then, but I was lonelier than I thought, not having any true friends to share my thoughts and experiences with. I was genuinely, deeply happy to be able to talk to her, to have someone who understood, or at least listened without judgment. On our way to and from Willow Creek Elementary, we talked about a multitude of things. Our families, though she was more reserved about hers, our favorite foods, she loved pizza any kind, and animals. Cats. Definitely cats for her. We discussed homework assignments, sometimes puzzling over math problems together, and chatted excitedly about the TV shows we had watched the previous night. I found out that she absolutely adored cats. Her eyes would light up whenever she spoke of them. She couldn't have wanted her own house due to their crammed living situation and her father's unpredictable moods, but she found joy in visiting Oakwood Park, a nearby green space where a small colony of stray cats often gathered, seeking food and a bit of human kindness. "My family has a cat," I mentioned one afternoon as we neared my street. "She's a calico. Really friendly." A thought sparked in my mind. "Want to come over and see her sometime?" Olivia's face instantly brightened, a genuine, unrestrained smile spreading across her features. "Really? You mean it?" "Sure, I'd love to." When I brought Olivia to my house after school that day, Mom welcomed her with her usual warmth, offering her a glass of milk and some cookies. When our mixed-breed calico cat, Luna, a creature of elegant fluff and curious green eyes, sauntered into the living room, Olivia's eyes sparkled with pure, unadulterated delight. "Oh, how cute! She's beautiful. What's her name?" Olivia breathed, crouching down slowly. "Her name is Luna," I said, watching the gentle interaction. "Luna, come here, pretty girl," Olivia cooed softly, extending a tentative hand. Olivia looked so incredibly happy, cuddling Luna, gently stroking her soft purr, playing with her with a feather toy, and carefully feeding her treats that Mom provided. It was a side of her I'd never seen at school, relaxed, joyful, and carefree. Seeing her radiant smile, a smile that seemed to chase away the shadows that usually clung to her, made me genuinely happy too. It felt good to share something that brought her such obvious joy. In what felt like the blink of an eye, the afternoon sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, and it was evening. Mom, with her characteristic generosity, had quietly prepared an extra plate for dinner, assuming Olivia would stay. "Olivia, dear, can you give me your home phone number?" Mom asked gently as we were setting the table. "I'll call your folks and let them know you're here, and that you'll be having dinner with us so they don't worry." With that, Mom dialed the number Olivia provided, her voice calm and reassuring. During the call, she seemed deeply engrossed in the conversation, listening more than she spoke, her expression a mixture of concern and understanding. After that day, a new routine began. Olivia started having dinner at our house almost every night. Apparently, her own mom often worked late shifts trying to make ends meet, and her dad, who was usually at home, didn't concern himself with domestic chores like cooking. As a result, their dinner time was always late, often consisting of whatever was quick and easy, if anything at all. With her parents somewhat reluctant but ultimately grateful permission, Mom started looking after Olivia's evening meals, ensuring she had at least one nutritious home-cooked meal a day. After school, Olivia and I would spread our books out on the kitchen table, doing our homework together, and then we'd play with Luna, or sometimes I'd show her some of the simple programs I was learning to write on our old computer until dinner was ready. However, about a year into this comfortable and heartwarming routine, the stability we had found was abruptly shattered. Olivia had to move. Her parents, after a long and tumultuous period, finally divorced. Olivia understandably decided to go with her mom to live with her maternal grandparents, who resided far away in California. The news hit me harder than I expected. Our daily walks and shared meals had become a cherished part of my life. Before they left, Olivia and her mom came over to our house one last time to say goodbye. It was a somber afternoon, the air thick with unspoken emotions. "I can't thank you enough, Ella, for all that you've done for Olivia. For both of us," Olivia's mother said, her voice thick with emotion as she bowed deeply to Mom. Tears welled in her eyes. "We'll never ever forget your kindness and generosity." "Oh, please. It's perfectly okay," Mom replied gently, taking her arm and urging her to straighten up. "Please raise your head. There's no need for such formality between us." Her voice was warm and soothing. "We help each other out during tough times. That's what community is for. Don't you give it another thought." Mom insisted, though her own eyes were a little misty. She was, and still is, a person of incredibly strong principles and profound kindness, a woman I have always held in the highest respect. Her quiet strength and unwavering compassion were a constant source of inspiration for me. I can't quite recall the specific words of the conversation I had with Olivia that day. Just a blur of awkward silences, mumbled promises to write, and a shared sense of sadness. I gave her a small, hand-carved wooden bookmark I had made in art class, a silhouette of a cat against the moon, a small token of our friendship. And then just like that, she was gone. I haven't seen her since. We exchanged Christmas cards filled with updates about school and life every year for a while. Her cards, always with a picture of a cat on the front, were something I looked forward to, but that too eventually ceased after about 5 or 6 years, as life pulled us in different directions and the miles between us seemed to grow wider. Then time marched on. I graduated from college armed with a degree in computer science thanks to a scholarship I'd worked hard to maintain, and started working at Innovate Solutions, a mid-sized software development company. I was assigned to the project management department, and it's been a challenging but rewarding 3 years now. My days were a whirlwind of taking over complex projects from senior colleagues, establishing new client relationships, and meticulously overseeing development cycles. I now handle numerous major accounts, a responsibility that often keeps me at the office late into the night. "Good morning, Liam." My colleague Ethan, whose desk was adjacent to mine in the open plan office, greeted me with a practiced, overly friendly smile. He was a senior project manager, technically my superior in title, though his actual contributions often seemed minimal. "Good morning, Ethan," I replied, already focused on the lines of code on my monitor. "Big day tomorrow." "We've got that crucial meeting with Sterling Innovations," Ethan continued, leaning back in his chair. "It's a massive deal, Liam, absolutely vital for the company's Q3 targets. Mr. Coleman is counting on us." His tone was light, but there was an undercurrent I couldn't quite place, a subtle probing. "Are you pumped and fully prepared? Presentation locked and loaded?" "Yes, Ethan. The presentation is finalized. I'll have the latest draft ready for your review later this morning, as discussed," I said, keeping my voice even. I have been burning the midnight oil for weeks on this Sterling Innovations proposal, a complex software integration project. As we talked, or rather, as Ethan talked, and I tried to focus, the intercom on Ethan's desk buzzed. The department secretary's voice came through, crisp and efficient. "Ethan, there's an urgent call for you from Sterling Innovations. A Mr. Noah. Something online, too." Picking up the phone, Ethan's usually smooth demeanor began to visibly crack. His face, normally a mask of easy confidence, turned a sickly shade of pale with astonishing rapidity. "What? No, that can't be right. How could this?" His voice was a choked whisper. "Yes, I see. That's completely unacceptable." He listened, his knuckles white as he gripped the receiver. "I'm terribly, terribly sorry. A complete oversight on our part." His eyes darted toward me for a fleeting second, an expression I couldn't decipher right away. "Yes, we understand the gravity. Please, sir, if you could just give us one more chance to explain, to make amends." His voice was pleading, desperate. "Wait, hold on. Please." After hanging up, or rather, after the line on the other end went dead with a decisive click, he just stared blankly ahead, the phone still clutched in his hand as if it were a lifeline. The usual office seemed to fade into a dull roar in my ears. "What happened, Ethan?" I asked, a knot of apprehension tightening in my stomach. Turning to me, his face was a mixture of faint shock and a subtle, almost imperceptible glint of something else. Relief. "Liam," he said, his voice heavy with accusation. You gave the wrong meeting time to Sterling Innovations for our crucial presentation, didn't you?" My mind reeled. What was he talking about? They thought the meeting was scheduled for yesterday afternoon, not tomorrow." He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, messing it up in a show of distress. "They're absolutely furious," Ethan Livid said. "We stood them up. Showed a complete lack of professionalism." He shook his head, his eyes wide with faint disbelief. "The steel, it's toast, completely gone. And Mr. Coleman is going to hit the roof." Then his voice dropped, laden with blame. "It's all your fault, Liam." "What?" I exclaimed, my analytical mind struggling to process the accusation. "But Ethan, wasn't it you who personally communicated the final schedule to them after the last revision? I sent you all the confirmed details." I could feel my own anger rising, a hot flush creeping up my neck. "What, are you trying to pin this on me? That's completely untrue." I wanted to throw his baseless words right back at him, to expose the lie for what it was. To begin with, I hadn't been the one to directly communicate the final schedule to the client. Ethan, as the senior PM, had taken over the final client communication for this high-stakes meeting, insisting it was his responsibility to ensure everything ran smoothly. He had arranged a definitive schedule after a last-minute change request from their side, and had then informed me about it, CCing me on a vaguely worded internal email that lacked specific confirmation from Sterling Innovations. And yet here he was, shamelessly trying to shift the entire blame onto my shoulders. Ethan, true to his opportunistic nature, immediately reported the disaster to his boss, our supervisor, Mr. Coleman. Within minutes, Mr. Coleman, the stern and results-driven head of sales, was storming toward my desk, his face a mask of thunder. He had apparently already made a frantic call to Sterling Innovations to apologize on Ethan's behalf, or rather, on behalf of Innovate Solutions. However, Sterling Innovations, a company known for its exacting standards, wouldn't listen to his excuses. In the end, the potentially groundbreaking deal with Sterling Innovations had, it seemed, fallen through spectacularly. When Mr. Coleman returned from his damage control call, his face was grim, his jaw tight with suppressed fury. He beckoned me into his glass-walled office. "Liam, what in God's name have you done?" he began, his voice low and dangerously calm, which was always a bad sign. "Because of your Your incompetence, the crucial deal we staked our company's future on, the Sterling Innovations contract, has been utterly ruined." His voice rose with each word, the veins in his neck pulsing. "How are you possibly going to make this right, young man?" "But Mr. Coleman, sir," I interjected, trying to remain calm and present the facts. "It wasn't me who confirmed the final schedule with them. It was Ethan. I have email records showing I provided him with the correct information." Mr. Coleman slammed his hand on his expensive mahogany desk, making the pens in their holder jump. "Enough. I don't want to hear any more of your pathetic excuses," he roared, his face flushed. "Ethan has already explained the situation. He said you assured him you had double-checked everything with your contact there." My heart sank. Ethan had clearly and skillfully manipulated the narrative. "You've caused irreparable harm to this company's reputation, Liam." He leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold and hard. "Maybe you should seriously consider resigning. It would save us all a lot of trouble." That was Mr. Coleman's go-to threat, something he always said when he was truly incandescent with anger, a way to assert his dominance. A wave of injustice and frustration washed over me. I had worked tirelessly on this project, often sacrificing my personal time. The thought of my career at Innovate, a company I genuinely believed in, despite its internal politics, ending like this due to another's deceit was unbearable. "Wait, Mr. Coleman, I really don't want to quit," I managed to say, my voice strained. "I can fix this. I know I can." Mr. Coleman stared at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then a cruel smirk played on his lips. "All right, Liam. You want a chance to fix this," he sneered. "Then bring in a new contract. A contract worth at least the same amount as the projected revenue from the Sterling Innovations deal. And you have exactly 3 days to do it. 3 days, Liam, or you're fired. No severance, no references, just out. How could I possibly secure such a massive multi-million-dollar deal from scratch in just 3 short days? It was an impossible ultimatum, designed to make me fail. I was at a complete loss for words, the weight of Mr. Coleman's pronouncement crushing me. My mind raced, searching for any conceivable option, any lifeline. But then a faint glimmer of an idea, a desperate long shot, flickered in the back of my mind. I remembered something. There was another potential client, a smaller tech firm, who had been considering purchasing a similar software package to the one we were planning to sell to Sterling Innovations. They had been on the back burner for months. They always tried to haggle the price down relentlessly, constantly negotiating for discounts and extra features to the point where I'd almost given up, thinking they had no serious intention of buying. But now, this long shot was my only shot. I had to somehow, against all odds, close that deal. I quickly pulled up their file, revised the quotation with a slightly more aggressive discount than I was comfortable with, but one that still met Mr. Coleman's bottom line, and managed to set an immediate appointment with their contact. Upon arriving at their somewhat dated but busy office building, a young, harried-looking junior account manager named Noah, whom I had spoken to briefly on the phone, assisted me into a small, windowless conference room. "I brought a new quotation today, Noah," I said, trying to project a confidence I didn't feel as I handed him the newly printed quote. My hands were clammy. Noah, a man in his mid-20s who seemed genuinely earnest but clearly out of his depth, scrutinized the document, his brow furrowed. This is better, Mr. Liam," he said slowly. "But can't you go a little lower? Even a few percentage points." My heart sank a little. Here we go again. "Noah, I really can't go any lower than this," I replied, injecting a note of polite desperation into my voice. "We've already adjusted the price significantly several times, as you know." I leaned forward, trying to make eye contact to convey sincerity. "Please, Noah, I'm absolutely sure our software solution will be incredibly beneficial to your company's efficiency. The ROI is undeniable. We'll even include an enhanced 6-month regular maintenance package at no extra cost." Noah pondered, tapping his pen against the table, his arms crossed. He looked torn. I get what you're saying, Mr. Liam, and honestly, your software looks impressive. But at this price point, my superiors, they might not approve it. Budgets are incredibly tight this quarter. He ran a hand through his already messy hair. I personally want to advocate for purchasing it. I really do. But an idea, born of sheer desperation, struck me. How about this, Noah? How about I explain the long-term benefits and the ROI directly to your boss? Maybe over a quick business lunch, or even just a brief meeting. Sometimes a direct conversation can clear things up. Noah looked even more uncomfortable. Oh, that might be quite difficult, Mr. Liam. My boss, Mr. Sterling, he's extremely busy and he doesn't usually take unscheduled meetings. I'm begging you, Noah, please just give me a chance to discuss it with him. Even 5 minutes. This is incredibly important. I pleaded, my professional composure starting to fray. My job, my reputation, it all hung in the balance. The software suite we were discussing sold for tens of thousands of dollars, a significant sum. For Innovate Solutions, the cost of a business lunch, or even a slightly deeper discount, would be insignificant compared to landing the sale and saving my career. Noah hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. All right, Mr. Liam, he said reluctantly. But my boss, Mr. Sterling, he's actually out of the office right now. He's due back shortly, though. I'll see if I can catch him. I'll get back to you another day. Perhaps tomorrow. That's perfectly fine, Noah. Tomorrow would be great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you trying. I said, a surge of relief, however small, washing over me. At least it wasn't a flat no. Noah saw me out of the small conference room and into the main reception area. Just then, the main elevator door swished open with a soft chime, and a distinguished-looking, powerfully built older man with a mane of silver hair strode into the office with an air of absolute authority. Mr. Sterling, sir, I want to see you about the Innovate proposal. Noah said, his voice suddenly a pitch higher as he immediately straightened up and approached the newcomer. Do you have a moment, sir? So, this imposing figure is Noah's superior, Mr. Sterling. I thought, my stomach doing a little flip, he certainly had presence. Noah began to quickly explain the situation to Mr. Sterling, gesturing towards me. But to my utter surprise and dismay, Mr. Sterling, without even glancing at the proposal Noah held out, began to shout angrily, his voice booming through the previously quiet office. Trying to win us over with a damn dinner and a slightly less insulting price? Is that Innovate's new strategy? He thundered, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. We've told your company countless times, Noah, if we can't afford it, we can't bloody well buy it. We are not made of money here. His glare, when it finally landed on me, was like a physical blow. And you, he barked, jabbing a finger in my direction. If you can't offer a substantially better price, a price that reflects genuine value, then just leave and don't come back. Stop wasting my employees' time. My mind went blank. Did I do something so catastrophically wrong to be yelled at with such ferocity? I was simply trying to negotiate a deal that Noah himself had indicated was potentially viable. While I was still reeling from the shock, my ears ringing, Noah subtly nudged me toward the exit, his face pale and apologetic. I'm so sorry, Mr. Liam, he whispered, his eyes darting nervously toward Mr. Sterling, who had turned his back and was now addressing another employee in a clipped tone. He's just in a particularly bad mood today. Something about a delayed shipment from overseas. He always lashes out like this when he's upset or under pressure. Please don't take it personally. It certainly seemed that Mr. Sterling was quite a difficult, volatile character, but without his direct approval, we wouldn't be able to finalize this deal. There was no going around him. And if I didn't land this contract, if I returned to Innovate empty-handed, I was going to lose my job. Mr. Coleman had made that abundantly clear. What on earth should I do now? My last hope was crumbling before my very eyes. As I was racking my brain, a desperate knot of anxiety tightening in my chest, I heard the distinct, confident click-clack of high heels approaching rapidly down the polished hallway. Wait, Dad. Mr. Sterling. I instinctively turned toward the sound of a clear, articulate young woman's voice, a voice that carried an unexpected note of authority. There, framed in the doorway leading from the executive offices, stood a strikingly beautiful woman in an impeccably tailored business suit. Her intelligent eyes surveyed the scene with a calm, appraising gaze. "Olivia, what's up?" "I'm in the middle of something here," Mr. Sterling asked, his tone instantly softening, the thunder in his voice receding ever so slightly. She quickly approached the still fuming but now slightly puzzled-looking Mr. Sterling, a tablet held loosely in one hand. "Dad, I reviewed the latest documents on the Innovate proposal myself," she said, her voice calm but firm, addressing him as Dad in a way that momentarily threw me, then switching to a more formal tone as her eyes flicked toward me. "And I sincerely believe that their software solution, particularly the custom modules Mr. Liam has outlined, will be incredibly valuable for our new R&D initiative." She then looked directly into Mr. Sterling's eyes as she spoke, her gaze unwavering. "Please, I strongly urge you to reconsider purchasing it. I'm confident it's a sound investment." Mr. Sterling looked from his daughter to me, then back to his daughter, a flicker of surprise, then consideration in his eyes. "Well, Olivia," he said, a gruff affection in his voice, "if you say so and you vetted it, then—" He paused. "All right, Noah, proceed." Noah, who had been standing by looking utterly miserable, visibly brightened and moved forward with the contract process, paperwork right away, a relieved smile spreading across his face. Mr. Sterling then turned back to me, his demeanor still gruff, but the outright hostility gone. "That's what I was saying," he grumbled, though it clearly wasn't. "If the value is there, we'll consider it." I was absolutely, completely gobsmacked. My jaw practically hit the floor. For a moment, I had absolutely no idea what had just happened. The sudden, whiplash-inducing turnaround was disorienting. "So, you're saying you'll make the purchase?" I stammered, hardly daring to believe it. "Yes, Mr. Liam," Mr. Sterling confirmed, the ghost of a smile playing on his lips as he looked at his daughter. "Can't really say no when the boss's daughter, and my most trusted strategic advisor, makes such a strong recommendation. Now can we?" He chuckled, a surprisingly warm sound. "Boss's daughter?" I thought, still trying to process everything. And her name was Olivia. The name resonated strangely, a faint, distant bell tolling in the recesses of my memory. As I looked at her, truly looked at her, taking in her intelligent eyes, the graceful curve of her smile, a sense of familiarity impossibly began to dawn. She smiled warmly at me and said, "Liam, it's been a long time, no see." Her voice was like a melody I'd almost forgotten. "Don't you remember me?" Even though she said that, my mind, still reeling from the emotional roller coaster, struggled to place her. I didn't recall knowing any Olivia who was also a Watson, as Mr. Sterling had initially called her, or so I thought I'd heard in the whirlwind. Or rather, not a grown-up, incredibly poised and successful Olivia. But as I continued to gaze into her face, her eyes, the way her smile crinkled at the corners, it felt somewhat familiar, deeply familiar. "Wait," I said, my voice hesitant. Who are you again?" "I am sorry. You look so familiar." But she spoke up again, her smile widening, a hint of amused nostalgia in her eyes. "Do you perhaps remember me as Olivia from Willow Creek Elementary? The girl you used to share your mom's amazing lunches with." Olivia, her name, finally clicked. The memories came flooding back. The worn clothes, the quiet gratitude, the shared walks, Luna the cat, the tearful goodbye. Oh my God! I realized she was talking about the same Olivia, the skinny little girl I used to walk to and from school with, the one I'd share Mom's packed lunches with, the one who used to come over to my place and play with Luna during those elementary school years. She had changed so much. She was no longer the timid, undernourished child I remembered, but a confident, radiant woman. I hadn't recognized her at all. "Wow, Olivia, it's really you. It's been like, what, 15 years, hasn't it?" I exclaimed, a grin spreading across my own face. "Yeah, something like that. So nostalgic, isn't it?" She laughed, a bright, clear sound. "I saw your name, Liam, on the business card attached to the proposal documents earlier and thought, could it possibly be the Liam? I had to come down and see for myself." "Really?" But Watson? I thought Mr. Sterling called you Watson. I was still piecing things together. Olivia chuckled. Ah, yes. Actually, my mom remarried when I was in high school, and my stepfather, Mr. Sterling here, she gestured affectionately toward the man who was now beaming at her, adopted me. So, my legal surname became Sterling. Watson was my mother's maiden name, which I used for a while after the divorce. Wow. Really? That's incredible. The world suddenly felt very small, and yet wonderfully interconnected. Hey, Liam, Olivia said, her eyes sparkling. Instead of just standing here in the reception area, chatting and catching up on 15 years of history, what do you say we go out for a proper drink tonight? My treat to celebrate a successful deal and an unexpected reunion. Sure, Olivia. That sounds great. I'd love to, I replied, feeling a lightness I hadn't felt in days. Olivia and I quickly exchanged contact information, our fingers brushing briefly as we tapped details into our smartphones, and we made plans to meet for drinks after I finished up the paperwork with Noah and reported back to my own office. When I got back to the Invite Solutions office, the signed contract from Sterling Innovations clutched triumphantly in my hand. I reported the almost unbelievable good news to Mr. Coleman. My supervisor was, to put it mildly, taken aback. You really got the contract? The Sterling Innovations contract. He stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief as he looked at the signature line. Yes, Mr. Coleman. We haven't just got a contract. We got the Sterling Innovations contract signed and sealed. I confirmed, allowing a small, satisfied smile to play on my lips. Their strategy manager, Miss Olivia Sterling, personally intervened and endorsed our proposal. Great job, Liam. Absolutely stellar. Mr. Coleman was suddenly, almost uncharacteristically thrilled, already calculating the commission and the boost to his department's figures. The threat of termination vanished from his eyes, replaced by a look of grudging respect and perhaps a touch of avarice. Looking over at my colleague Ethan's desk, I saw him hunch over his keyboard, pretending to be engrossed in his work. But the rigid set of his shoulders and the way he avoided my gaze told me he had likely overheard. He seemed distinctly uneasy, a fact that gave me a small private measure of satisfaction. After wrapping up the necessary follow-up work for the day, my mind still buzzing with the incredible turn of events, I headed to the upscale downtown bar Olivia had suggested for our meetup. I found her already there, seated at a quiet corner table, nursing a glass of white wine, the city lights twinkling through the window behind her. Thanks for today, Olivia, I said, sliding into the chair opposite her. You really truly saved me. I probably wouldn't have a job tomorrow if it weren't for you. She smiled. What are you talking about, Liam? What happened? As I filled her in on the whole sordid tale. Ethan's betrayal, Mr. Coleman's ultimatum, the desperate scramble that had led me by sheer chance to her father's company. She listened intently, her expression sympathetic and at times indignant on my behalf. That's terrible, she said, shaking her head when I finished. For a senior colleague to put the blame on a junior like that, to actively sabotage someone, that's just awful. I'm glad my intervention helped, even unintentionally at first. Well, thanks to you, the deal went through and more importantly, I get to keep my job. So, I'm incredibly grateful, Olivia, I said, meeting her gaze. Seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Upon hearing my sincere gratitude, Olivia smiled, a touch of shyness in her expression. I'm truly honored I could help Liam. And to be perfectly honest, she continued, her voice softening, I've always been incredibly grateful to you and to your mom for everything you did for me all those years ago. We lost touch after I moved to California, and I always regretted that. I'm so glad we could reconnect like this, even under such dramatic circumstances. According to Olivia's story, which she shared as we sipped our drinks, and the initial awkwardness of a 15-year gap melted away after her mother divorced her biological father. She began dating and eventually married the man who was then the general manager of the office where she worked, Mr. Sterling. He was a kind, stable presence in their lives. However, a few years later, Olivia's stepfather's father, who was the founder and CEO of the Sterling Innovations headquarters, then based in New York, decided to retire. Mr. Sterling, his only son, had to take over the position, moving the entire family, including the company headquarters, to San Francisco, the heart of the tech industry, to better position it for future growth. Olivia by then was already excelling in her studies, driven by a desire to make something of herself, eventually earning an MBA on a scholarship. You know, you could have let me know when you moved back to this part of California, or at least when you settled in San Francisco, I said, teasing her gently. She laughed. I know. I'm sorry. But Liam, she counted, a playful glint in her eye. Weren't you the one who stopped replying to my Christmas cards first? Did I? I asked, genuinely surprised. I couldn't recall. My college years have been a blur of studying and part-time jobs. Yes, you did, she confirmed. So, after a couple of years of sending them into the void, I just thought maybe you found a girlfriend or moved on with your life, and I didn't want to intrude or seem like I was clinging to the past. Turns out I never did get a serious girlfriend back then. I admitted a little ruefully. Too busy trying to get through school and then establish my career, I guess. Really? No girlfriend all this time? She asked, her eyebrows raised in mock surprise. Nope, none to speak of, I confirmed with a shrug. Olivia leaned forward slightly, her expression turning a little more serious, though her eyes still held that warm sparkle. Well, Liam, she said, her voice a little softer now. Maybe you're showing up at Sterling Innovations today, and me happening to be there at just the right moment. Maybe it's bait, kismet even. She took a small breath. If you're okay with it, and if you're not seeing anyone now, would you perhaps like to go on a date with me? A proper one this time. I was completely taken aback by her sudden direct confession, or rather invitation. I was rendered speechless for a moment, my mind struggling to catch up. But it wasn't that I disliked the idea. Far from it. I was actually surprisingly really happy. Incredibly happy. Vivid memories from elementary school surfaced. Being around her always made me feel a quiet sense of contentment. And whenever she laughed, truly laughed, I felt a corresponding joy bloom in my own chest. I remember that feeling, a feeling I hadn't experienced in a very long time. Of course, Olivia, I managed to say, my voice a little shaky. Yes, I'd love to. I instinctively extended my right hand across the small table to her, and she gently took it, her fingers warm and firm in mine. Really? Oh, Liam, I'm so happy, she said, her smile radiant. And that, in the heart of San Francisco, amidst the clinking of glasses and the murmur of evening conversations, is how we started dating. 2 years later, after countless shared meals, laughter-filled adventures exploring California, and late-night conversations that delved into every corner of our lives, I proposed to Olivia. I presented her with a custom-designed engagement ring, a delicate band with a small, brilliant-cut diamond. Its setting subtly echoed the design of the cat and moon bookmark I had given her all those years ago at Willow Creek Elementary. She cried tears of joy and accepted without a moment's hesitation. We got married in a beautiful sun-drenched old church nestled in the California wine country, surrounded by our closest friends and family, including a beaming mom. Luna, darling, dinner's ready, Olivia called out, her voice musical from the kitchen of our cozy home in a quiet San Francisco suburb a few years later. And our sleek black cat, also named Luna, a rescue we'd adopted together, a namesake for the cherished feline friend of our childhood, responded with a soft, contented meow as she twined around Olivia's ankles. Seeing Olivia, my wife, now a respected executive at Sterling Innovations and a passionate advocate for various charitable causes, playing with our cat, her face alight with affection. She seemed just like she did in those old cherished memories, yet even more vibrant, more complete. Olivia had faced so many challenges and hardships growing up, enduring poverty and instability, with a quiet resilience that I admired more than words could say. But from now on, I vowed I would always be by her side to cherish her, to support her, and to ensure her life was filled with all the happiness and love she so richly deserved.
You can go home now.
Some old pals from high school are getting together today. I had booked a private room at a fancy restaurant at a classmate's suggestion. One of my classmates abruptly urged me to go while we were all having a friendly conversation. Just so you know, you don't belong here as a high school dropout. Just out of sympathy, we invited you. You are simply an extra. We don't need you once you reserve the spot. Yes, but you're responsible for paying your portion of the cost. I must admit that I was furious when he waved me away. This man used to make fun of me even in high school, but we were still young. As adults, I can see that he hasn't changed much since high school. Oh, I see. Really? Can I go home? To be sure, I made sure to highlight the word really.
He ignored me as he passed. I advise you to go. You truly are a fool, man.
I said I got it to him. I chose to depart in the middle. What occurred next didn't matter to me. I hurried out of there. Then a few minutes later, he apologized to me with tears in his eyes. Kevin Smith is my name. My siblings and I grew up eating delectable ramen almost every day because my parents own a ramen noodle shop. The ramen noodle restaurant has been there since my grandfather's time and is well liked by regulars. It also receives a lot of publicity on blogs and social media, which draws a lot of young patrons. I adore my family and my parents' restaurant. I truly care about this shop, which is why I wanted to take over this ramen noodle restaurant in the future, not because I'm the oldest son. With so many rivals, I hope to learn the ropes from my dad after attending college to study business management. I envision myself as an adult. But it didn't take me long to seize control of the store. My father's severe sickness worsened and he died shortly after I started high school. He told me this just before he passed away. You don't have to take over the restaurant. Follow your passion. Then I'll do what I love, I replied brightly, fighting back tears so as not to concern my parents. Permit me to work at Smith Ramen. I adore your establishment.
All right. You are now Smith III.
Thus, as the third generation, I was successful. I quit high school and got a job right away since I couldn't leave the restaurant to my mom alone. I left studying business management to my younger brothers because I didn't have the time. Since my boys were still in middle school, I had to work to support them. I kept going through my father's notebook, which had our ramen's history and recipes. I became the shop owner with my mother's help. Our loyal customers began coming in more frequently to check on us. To cheer us up, they brought gifts and told us happy stories. It's all because of my parents' generosity. I realized again that this restaurant is important not just to my family, but also to our customers. There were people who cared for the restaurant around me, childhood friends from elementary and middle school, and former high school classmates who knew the reason I dropped out and came to check on me. Not only did they bring gifts, they also spread the word about our shop, providing much support. Among everyone, the person who seemed to care the most about our family was a former classmate, Harriet Marino. I used to sit next to her until I dropped out of high school, and we had plenty of conversations. When my dad passed away and I had to help at the restaurant, she looked incredibly distressed. Apparently, Harriet's father had also passed away when she was very young, so she understood well how tough it was. With her charming face and personality, she was popular among both genders. She was kind to everyone without discrimination, and that kindness was extended to me. Since I started working at the restaurant, she would occasionally check up on us and even looked after my younger siblings, and this continued even after she became a college student. Attending a nearby college, she still used to visit our restaurant after her classes or part-time jobs, often bringing her friends along. She had become quite friendly with the other customers and was somewhat of a popular person at this ramen restaurant. That day, too, Harriet came to eat ramen. She brought along another guy.
Hey, Kevin, it's been a while.
Looking closely at the face of the person talking to me, he was also a former classmate. However, I couldn't remember his name. We didn't interact with each other much. When I told him how much I like your restaurant, Morgan here said he wanted to come too.
Then I remembered him. Yes, he is Morgan. Morgan Jones.
In high school, I recalled Morgan having flashy hair, but now he looked more refined, much like a college student. My mom suggested the counter seats at the back so we could catch up, being classmates and all. I took their orders and chopped green onions while talking to them.
Um, are you guys at the same college? No, I moved to the neighboring state. The college he mentioned, even I know, is renowned and top-ranked, especially in science. Wow, Morgan, you must be really smart. While I was impressed, Morgan smirked and crossed his arms.
Well, I plan to work for a chemical company in the future. It's unfortunate for you, Kevin, having to quit high school and not being able to attend college. I'm enjoying my life in my own way. Really, you would have wanted to go to college, right? It's quite something to work in a ramen restaurant for the sake of the family, eh? I mean, it's a ramen restaurant, you know? It won't be profitable and it's dirty. Working for low wages from morning till night, getting covered in oil, I would never want to do that.
Stop it, Morgan. Harriet intervened.
Morgan's words stabbed at me relentlessly. I did regret not being able to attend college, but this is the path I chose. I felt as if he looked down not only on me, but also on my family and the profession of running a ramen restaurant. Isn't that a bit uncalled for? Running a ramen restaurant is wonderful. You like ramen too, don't you, Morgan? Harriet retorted on my behalf, her face filled with annoyance.
However, Morgan continued, unperturbed.
I like ramen, but making it a profession is another thing. I mean, it's a ramen restaurant. It can go out of business any time. While he continued, the ramens were ready. I placed the ramen bowls on the counter to interrupt their conversation.
Here you go. Thanks for the wait.
Indeed, from the perspective of someone who attended a prestigious college like him, my choice to take over the family business might seem pitiable. I have no reason to be mocked, but changing his mindset is tough. It's frustrating, but I decided to cherish this shop. If people think it's unstable, I'll make it so big that there won't be any need for such concerns. I made it my goal to turn this frustration into motivation, to strive for having the best ramen restaurant in the local area. While preserving the original flavor, I researched new menu development and how my restaurant differs from others. I started ramen research by checking out restaurants recommended by friends. Eventually, to avoid making customers wait, I consulted real estate for expanding the restaurant and researched how to renovate by myself to lower the renovation costs. After continuing such efforts for several years, a certain publishing house contacted me. According to a food magazine journalist, survey results seemed to show that Smith Ramen was the most popular shop in this local district. Therefore, they wanted to feature us. That was the offer they contacted us with. My mom and I happily accepted it. Since then, about 10 years have passed, and I've crossed 30. Thankfully, Smith Ramen is still thriving due to work. I was visiting a fancy restaurant in the city. Upon leaving the restaurant, I saw a face I hadn't seen in a long time. Of course, I hadn't forgotten his name.
Morgan? Hey, is that you?
Kevin Morgan looked back and forth between me and the entrance of the restaurant, making a puzzled face.
What are you doing in such a place? Well, I had some business.
Yeah, right. You'd never come to a place like this for personal reasons. It's not a place for someone like you to come to, he said laughingly. I haven't forgotten how he looked down on me in the past. However, it's immature to keep dragging up old grudges, and nothing good comes from bringing up the past. Morgan, you know this place. Of course, our company president is a regular here, so I was surprised to see you coming out of this restaurant. Oh, you work at a good company, don't you? More importantly, since we've met after so long, I don't have time now, but want to grab a drink sometime. Oh, let's have a reunion here. A reunion. I do have the desire to meet classmates I haven't seen in years. However, there are certainly faces I've completely forgotten by now. It might be awkward. What should I do? Besides, if I get a chance to meet Morgan, he will probably make more sarcastic remarks. I'm not so sure. You know, there are many faces I've forgotten. Then he lowered his voice as if he didn't know my feelings.
Actually, Harriet is back here now.
I was startled to hear that name. Harriet is my childhood friend who came to my restaurant many times. She moved about 3 hours away by car for a job, but she contacts me frequently and visits my restaurant every time she comes back. Indeed, she mentioned coming back since yesterday.
I assume you've realized, but I have eyes on Harriet.
Morgan's confession was expected when we met again in my ramen restaurant. I somewhat expected that. I'm slightly surprised he still has feelings for her, so I want to create more opportunities to meet under the pretext of a reunion.
Will you help me?
Well, if that's the case, honestly, I didn't have a good impression of him, so I resist the idea of him and Harry getting close, but it's up to them.
Still, I want to meet Harriet.
After hemming and hawing, I decide to agree. Technically, it's a voluntary reunion hosted by Morgan and me, but I don't know many contacts, so Morgan gathered the members and I took care of the restaurant reservation. Since he specified the restaurant we met before, I didn't have to choose a place and booked a large private room. On the day, Morgan led the toast in the middle of classmates I recognized and had forgotten. Getting 12 people together in 1 week is impressive. I think Morgan did a nice job getting a reservation at this place. This place is so expensive. It's usually hard to get in, and to think it's only $100.
Amazing. Well, it's a place I frequent for work. Conversations like this can be heard around.
I made the reservation, but Morgan practically organized the reunion and settled on the date. It's not really something to fuss over, so I decided to simply enjoy reminiscing and catching up with old friends. But really, Harriet has become incredibly beautiful, hasn't she? Upon someone's remark, eyes turned toward Harriet. In the half a month since I've last seen her, she's become even more beautiful. Even before graduating from college, her image changed from cute to beautiful, but she remained a graceful woman, retaining the traces of a beautiful girl.
He's not wearing a ring. Seems she's not married yet.
Indeed, there's no ring to be seen on her left ring finger. Since Morgan is pursuing her as well, she's undoubtedly still single. Each time we meet, I secretly worry a marriage announcement is coming, but it seems there's still time. However, Morgan is really clinging to Harriet, as he declared to me. He's been persistently keeping to Harriet's side. Has the alcohol loosened his tongue? His voice is audible from here. Most of it is him bragging about his job. He endlessly talks about his accomplishments and the prestige of being employed by a top-tier company. Sure, it's not wrong to use one's ability and wealth to emphasize, but Harriet just gives a wry smile. Is she used to hearing this, or is she just not a fan of such things? Even so, she keeps responding to him and encouraged, Morgan continues on. It's become an endless loop. After a while, Morgan left the room, presumably for the bathroom. Harriet quickly got up and unceremoniously sat next to me.
Harriet, Kevin, it's been half a month. Is everyone well? Oh, Mom and the brother said they want to see you again. Oh, and Luke got a job.
Luke is my youngest brother. When he was little, Harriet used to help his study. Really? Then we must celebrate. Can I visit the restaurant the day after tomorrow?
Yay! Everyone will be happy.
Great. I've been missing the ramen from your restaurant. Harriet's smile, unlike earlier, was as lovely as ever. I hope I'm not being too self-conscious. While this was happening, Morgan returned, noticing Harriet's absence. He looked around.
Morgan's back. Don't you want to return? I tried asking, but she was nodding her head.
No, it's a reunion. It's strange to stay in one place, right? I wanted to talk to Michelle and Clara, but the bar let me leave. At that moment, she made eye contact with her friends, mentioned they waved, and Harriet waved back.
Then I'll go over there for a bit, okay? As Harriet left, my friends surrounded me in amazement. Were you close with Harriet? Seriously? Are you two an item?
No, we're not like that. She often came to eat our restaurant ramen, so we just kept in touch. I do have secret feelings for her, but there's no need to delve into details. While we were engaged in casual conversation, I felt the urge to use the restroom, so I excused myself and stepped away from my seat into the corridor.
On my way back, I was stopped by a disgruntled voice. It was Morgan. "Hey, Kevin, what's the big idea?"
He seems a bit flushed. Smells like booze. He appears to have had quite a few drinks.
This confrontation is probably about Harriet. I said I had eyes on Harriet, right? Why were you talking to her? The guy's drunk. I need to be careful with my response. When you left the table, she probably just wanted someone to talk to and came to me since she knows me. She's talking with her girlfriends now. What? You guys seem pretty close.
It seems. That's how it appeared to him, too. He's staring hard. He grabs my collar and glares at me, visibly upset. You've always been like this. Ha! Dropped out from high school, PUA, running a little diner. But Harriet is kind. She cares about you, right? Isn't she? She's just being nice to you out of pity. You get it, right? In what world would Harriet be a match with a high school dropout running a diner like you? Harriet deserves someone with a promising future who works at a decent company like me. You don't have to go that far. I didn't expect to still be looked down upon because of my background. Just to let you know you don't belong here or with Harriet. But since having you around makes it easier for Harriet to come, I invited you out of necessity. You're just an extra. Know your place. Harriet belongs with me. If you can't understand that, then just go home. Your role here is done. He dismissively gestures with his hand, and that really gets to me. I get it. I understand very well that you don't think highly of me. But really, I can go home. I emphasize the really just to be sure. Morgan walks past me without much concern. That's what I'm saying. Just go. Seriously, dude. Such a dimwit. I got it? I return to the venue and get my belongings together. "Oh, you're leaving?" one of my friends asks, so I nod. "Yeah, I got some urgent stuff to do." "Oh, well, you're a busy guy. Let's grab a drink again sometime." "Sure. Oh, can you give this $100 to Morgan later?" I hand my friend a $100 bill, then exit the room. At the reception, I'm about to inform them that I'm leaving early when I notice Harriet is there. "Kevin, are you leaving?" "Harriet, yay. I have some errands." "Okay then, I'll go home too." What? It seems Harriet is ready to leave too. Why? You should stay and enjoy with everyone. I already made plans to have dinner with someone I want to see again. Plus, if I stay till the end, it seems like Morgan might follow me home. Oh, I see. While putting on her beige pumps, Harriet sighs in frustration. I overheard the conversation earlier. Morgan was being so rude to you. That's embarrassing that you had to hear that. You weren't embarrassing at all, but Morgan, he was the embarrassing one. After hearing that, I didn't want to be with him, especially since I've turned him down twice already. Really? I didn't know that. That was news to me. He attacked twice. That takes some guts. He's always been the same, showing off his skills, bad-mouthing people he thinks are beneath him, and always bragging. It's hard to listen to him because he always judged people by his standards. Ignoring isn't the right thing either. That must have been tough for you. And yet she tried so hard to listen to Morgan, making him think he still had a chance. It seems not all attention is necessary. Neely's good in that regard. You haven't changed either. Kevin, what does she mean? I'm still timid and uneducated. I anxiously wait for Harriet's words. Are you overthinking? I always thought of you as someone who's considerate and polite to friends. Realizing I was being praised, I felt relieved, but at the same time I felt embarrassed.
You don't have to flatter me that much. It's making me blush. I'm just telling the truth.
As she said this, it seemed like Harriet's face was turning red as well. Is it because of the wine, or maybe the situation? Normally I would have complimented her back, but I'm not used to this kind of atmosphere, so the only thing I know is to lighten the mood. I won't give you anything special even if you flatter me. Maybe just a free topping coupon for next time.
Wow, that's amazing.
As we were chatting and laughing on our way home, my cell phone rang. It's from Morgan. Maybe he dialed by mistake. He said to leave, and now he's calling. Just hearing Morgan's name made Harriet seem displeased. However, I had an idea about the call. When I answered, a trembling voice of Morgan called out, "Kevin, please come back."
I'm already at the station. I'll pay for your cab fare. But you told me to leave, right? Because the restaurant staff said without you, the bill would be $5,000.
Harriet heard the voice through the phone with widened eyes. She seemed to understand after a moment.
That's your restaurant, huh? Yes, I own that restaurant.
I had arranged with the restaurant for a special friends rate of $100 per person, but without me there, the standard rate is $500 per person.
Given the 10 people at the restaurant, that's $5,000 in total.
Since everyone agreed on $100, the remaining $4,100 would probably fall on Morgan.
You can afford $4,100, right, Morgan? What are you talking about? You reserved it for $100 each, right? When I explained that I was the owner, the phone got even louder. That's a scam? No, you said leave, right? I even asked if you were sure. I tried to explain, but you went back to the room quickly. Wait, there's no way a high school dropout like you owns this place. Are you in cahoots with the restaurant to rip me off? Sorry, but it's true.
After turning Smith's, I ran into the best ramen place in the district. A regular customer with connections in the Canada food industry helped me expand to Canada. Back when my dad was around, he used to joke about going international if the shop ever took off. But with the current state of restaurant, it seemed possible, and I got the support to do it. I opened a restaurant in Canada and immersed myself in ramen making with the local staff. I kept researching to maintain the original Japanese flavor while also suiting Canadian tastes. Thanks to that, I managed to run a successful first tour in Canada, then the second, the third, and so on, expanding more and more. Meanwhile, my siblings contributed greatly to the expansion in the U.S. as well. They're learning about management and logistics for the sake of the restaurant too, and the whole family is working together to expand Smith's Ramen Restaurant. Now, they are not just sticking to the ramen shop, but are also launching a food and beverage chain based on Smith's Ramen Restaurant. This year, they finally made it to the food and beverage industry sales ranking. While explaining this, I decided it was high time to return to the restaurant. With Harriet feeling somewhat sorry for him, when I met Morgan last time, he was just using his restaurant for entertainment. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to flaunt it and upset him. I met Morgan again at the reception, who seemed quite upset. He seems to be quite angry about not having received an explanation from me. Seeing him like this, the other classmates seemed annoyed. "This is unfair. You're setting me up." The moment he recognized me, he stepped forward as if to bark and grab my collar. A middle-aged man passing by spoke to him. "Oh, isn't this Morgan? What? Oh, boss, what's going on raising your voice like that?" Next, he looked at me and reached out for a cheerful handshake. "Are you Kevin? It's been a while." "Likewise, it's been a while. Thank you for your patronage today." "Yes. Whenever we have a meal here, the negotiations always seem to go well. It's almost a jinx." He laughed heartily, then looked back at Morgan. As Morgan said, he is the boss of the company where Morgan works. I know him personally, and he has been very helpful to me, a generous and solid adult. I secretly aspire to be like him. Do you know Morgan? Yes, we were high school classmates. I see them. The boss then notices the $5,000 receipt in front of Morgan. Morgan, did you splurge this much? Indeed, the food here is impeccable. But boss, he's a con artist. Don't be fooled. What are you talking about, Morgan? It's better not to say unnecessary things. He's trying to swindle money from me. If Morgan hadn't made the situation bigger by himself, it would have been settled more amicably. He seems more drunk than when I saw him earlier. He doesn't realize that he is at a disadvantage. Actually, I reluctantly explained the situation to the confused boss. After listening to the story, the boss scolded Morgan with his eyes raised. I didn't know you were such a person to do such embarrassing things. His words seemed to sober Morgan up a bit, who shook his head vigorously. No, it's not like that. I was a bit drunk, or should I say it wasn't formal. I can't entrust hospitality or sales to someone who gets drunk like that. I don't know what he might end up doing. You're not a student anymore. You should act more responsibly. The boss sighed deeply and bowed to me, remembering that he had left the companions in the room. I'm really sorry about this. I will visit again to apologize properly. Not at all. Please don't worry about it. It's his personal matter. I can't just let it be. I will explain about Morgan's punishment. Then, leaving those words, the boss left. Left behind were Morgan, who was staring at the boss's retreating figure in astonishment, and classmates making awkward faces. Later, I heard that Morgan, who was the face of the sales department, was demoted to another department due to difficulties in interpersonal relationships. It seems he will have to relearn how to be a member of society from scratch due to this incident. It seems he really can't show his face to my classmates anymore, and he stopped bothering Harriet. At the same time as receiving that report, Harriet confessed her feelings to me. I need to somehow get Morgan to give up, or I think it would cause trouble for you. Harriet worried about me, and my family apparently liked me since high school. Since high school? Really? You didn't notice? If not, there's no way I would still be visiting the shop at this age. She was a bit astonished by my insensitivity, but she seemed like even that part of me. I like that you stay sincere without being overly self-conscious, whether you're dealing with me, Morgan, or any customer. But, well, I would be happy if you treat me a bit more special from now on. I can't help but be pleased to hear such things. My mom, with whom I've had a long-standing relationship, and my brothers, they all congratulated me with open arms when they heard the report. Currently, Harriet, no, my girlfriend, is working as a PR for a candy manufacturer, and she said she wants to learn some skills to further promote my shop. For that purpose, she seems to be learning various promotional methods for e-commerce now. I also have to work hard for her, who cares so much about the shop. Truly, my life makes you realize the importance of human connections. The fact that my mom and I could continue the shop, that it became famous, that we could expand it domestically into Canada, and that it can be expected to grow even more, all prove that if you are sincere to people in your job, the results will surely follow. I want to continue valuing the people around me without becoming arrogant.